I have not gone live on multiple channels before. Hi TikTok, hi Instagram, hi Facebook. If you're watching the replay, hello YouTube. This is my first time going live across channels. Not totally sure how this is gonna work out, but we're gonna learn a thing today, is how this is gonna go. All right, so for those of you who are watching this, you're probably watching the replay because it's early, but yeah, we're gonna see how this goes across channels. Right on time. I should probably turn my volume off in case I get text messages during this and be professional. Also, apologies that we are not in the garden today. It is crazy hot and I needed like notes and stuff, so we are in my home office and we'll be going over fall planning from here. So hopefully that's okay with everybody. Welcome. I am curious. I can't really see very much on the Facebook part. I hope that's okay. There might not be anybody there. Anyway, welcome to the live. Today, I've had a lot of questions about fall gardening. Fall gardening is my favorite time to garden in Florida, and I thought we could talk about it. There's a lot actually that goes into planning a fall garden if you are in a hot weather zone, like Florida. And so I thought I would go over some of the different steps. If you can't stay for the whole live today, that's totally fine. I'm going to be putting out videos over the rest of the week addressing some of these things, particularly any questions that you ask. That's what I'm going to be focusing on. So be sure and leave questions in the comments so that I can make sure and address them. If my mom is watching this, she's going to be like, why did you not brush your hair before you got on the internet? Anyway, welcome again. So fall gardening in Florida. Number one, everyone should be trying this. Our summer, as you are aware, is brutally hot. It's why we're inside right now instead of outside. It's really too hot for us to survive, for most plants to survive. My Ghostbusters fan, no, I just look like it because this is my like Saturday outdoor attire. But thank you for that. But it's so brutally hot that we kind of need a break. Most of the typical like home garden vegetables don't like this weather. It's too hot for them. So things like tomatoes and cucumbers, a lot of melons, any kind of leafy green, they're either dead or dying, right? I'm sure a lot of you have noticed this. And in a hot zone, that's easy to feel defeated when that happens. So what I recommend is number one, no, you don't need to feel defeated. It's just that time of year. Where we get to shine is in our cool weather months. So in the fall, in the winter, we have an awesome opportunity to grow a very wide variety of things. And I tend to split my fall into two different sections. So I have what I call second summer, and then I have the long cool weather season. And basically, second summer is where the heat has broken. It's still really hot. Don't get me wrong. Still crazy hot. But the heat is broken. And that is when I have the opportunity to have a second round of the tomatoes and cucumbers and melons and all of the good summer stuff. So what I want to go over today is just the different steps of coordinating your fall garden. So this is really more about timing. We'll be going over the other stuff over the course of the rest of the month. I will be taking questions if you have any. So please feel free to fire away with those. We have some coming in on TikTok. So one, my herbs are happy right now in Sarasota. I love it. What herbs are you growing right now? When I do second summer, am I doing it with starters or seeds? This is a fantastic question and something that I will be addressing throughout, but long story short, use both. If it is a something you're wanting to grow that requires more than 120 days, just to be on the safe side, I would recommend using a start. That's only to be on the safe side. And by safe side, like, I don't even know what that would mean. So it is July 9th right now. 3 months from now is October 9th. Where I am, the risk of frost is still 6 weeks away. So feel free to start with seeds if you're in that kind of a zone. But also, even when I do start with seeds, I buy starts. So I recommend both, just to have fun with it. The fall is our time to have a lot of fun. So have fun with it. If there's a start that you're like, oh, I don't have seeds for that and that looks kind of fun, do it. I'm not going to be the resource that's going to tell you not to get a start or a pack of seeds. So if you need somebody to like rein you in, I'm not your girl. Man, we do have questions rolling in already. I love this. Jacksonville here, and my plants are getting fried in this heat. Yep. I discovered another dead tomato plant this morning. Not because of a vole this time. For those of you who have been around for a while and watched me fight a vole. Discovered another dead plant this morning. Just simply gave out due to the heat. Am I an 8B? So actually, I guess I really should have started there. I am in Central Florida. So I am in Alachua County. It's about 2 hours north of Orlando, if you're not familiar with the area. I am technically Zone 9A, but Zone 8B is like half a mile north of me. So I'm really kind of on the line between the two. And what that means is for cold temperatures, I look at 8B, and for hot temperatures, I look at 9A. And I usually get a mix of both of those zones. There's not really a huge difference between them. You're going to sweat your booty off in both. So, right on the line. Tiffany from, looks like Pacific Northwest. Oh, I just lost your comment. Okay. I'm an 8B and our winters are super mild. Yes. So one of the cool things about gardening zones is that, Pacific Northwest is Zone 8. And really what that means is how cold your lowest temperatures are likely to get. Not how long it's going to stay that cold, just what the minimum temperature is going to be. And that's why you can see Zone 8B in lower Alabama, northern Florida, and all the way up in Oregon. Someone is... Oh, you are growing such great herbs right now. Voles, yeah. New Central Florida gardener, welcome. Welcome, welcome. I was really hoping we were going to get some new gardeners on this talk today, specifically because I remember so well how beaten down I was after my first summer of gardening here. I had just finished school, just started. I don't even know if I'd started my big girl job yet, but we bought some plants, some little tomatoes, some peppers. My husband made me this cute little bed in our backyard and had lined it with landscape timber. It was adorable looking. I planted everything out. I was babying everything. And then our summer rains started. And that section of the yard flooded and stayed flooded for 2 months. So everything died. And it was super disheartening. But I learned 2 things out of it. One, I now grow in raised beds because parts of my yard tend to flood. And because our soil is not so great. And then also, I learned through other people encouraging me online, fall is actually the time to garden in Florida. Stay inside in the air conditioning in July and August. Don't, demoralize yourself. Fall is the time to garden in Florida. All right, I think I missed a couple comments. Let's see. I need some fall inspiration because last year beat me down and I'm done for the summer. Yes. So we'll be talking about some of that towards the end. But basically in Florida or a hot weather zone, in the fall you can grow just about anything you want. It's so great. Excitement for fall. Hello, Charleston, South Carolina. Heard it's best to garden in the fall in Arizona as well. I have also heard that. So let's talk about the first point, and that is a lot of times when you hear people talking about fall garden planning, you hear a lot of emphasis on the frost date. And that is important to know, yes. What is more important for us hot weather gardeners to know is when your heat is going to break, right? Because that's what's taken us all out at this point. And there's like the little voice in my head being like, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. It's both. It is both. But what we want to know is when our heat is going to break. So I wrote all of this down for myself. For where I am, again, right on the line between 8B and 9A in Central Florida, between June and August, our average highs are all over 90. And so what that means is I'm regularly hitting like 95, 100, that type of thing through August. When I tell you it's brutal, it is brutal. Also during that time, our average low is right around 70. So sometimes it might be high 60s at night. A lot of times, I mean, we get into like 75, 78 low at night. So it's still hot. So my plants do really not have a break. Also, over the course of those 3 months, we get between 6 to 7 inches of rain per month. So a lot of water is going on. So to me, between June and August, that's like my version of a winter break, right? My version of a winter break. I'm going to take it real easy on myself. If something wants to die in the garden, I'm going to let it go. Now, also, I skipped a step. I'm sorry. I just Googled, so I'm in Gainesville, Florida. I Googled Gainesville, Florida weather averages so that I could see the monthly average and not just the 2-week forecast. So this is looking more at historical data. There are several very good websites, but I do suggest comparing across websites to get a good feel for it. Now, in September, that heat has started to break a little bit. So my average high is 87, which is still very hot, right? Still very hot. But it's not as bad. It is survivable. And the key here for me, because I love tomatoes, is that tomatoes can set blooms at that time. All right. And that's going to go for a lot of other things. So your melons, your cucumbers, I think even eggplant, any of those fruiting type vegetables aren't going to set fruit over 95. And in my experience, they really don't set fruit very well over 90. So when the average is 87, I have a good chance of fruit setting in September. My low is still right around 70, but the amount of rain I'm getting has gone down to just 4 inches of that month. So the risk of like an utter deluge has gone way down. And then finally, October, which we all think of as traditional fall, my average high is 81, average low is 60. So things have cooled way down by October. And at that point, I'm also only getting 2.8 inches of rain a month. Still a good amount of rain, way, 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 way less. Okay, I'm going to pause here. I've seen a whole bunch of comments over on TikTok. If you are watching this on Instagram or Facebook, please feel free to leave your questions in the comments. I'm trying to double broadcast. We're going to see how this goes. Y'all on TikTok know I don't really know what I'm doing. Okay. Got some questions about soil and corn. Friend, I cannot help you with the corn. I'm still trying to learn that one myself. 9B, Eastern San Diego, and people never talk about this or understand. There are a lot of factors that go into fall gardening if you are in a hot zone. A lot of factors. And this isn't to say that like zone 7 and zone 6 don't get hot. I mean like for those of us who are wearing shorts in December kind of hot weather zone. This is the type of planning we have to do. There's a few more factors, but we do have the benefit of a really stretched out gardening season. Tiffany, that's crazy. I get 0 rain from July to October. That is rough. That is crazy to me. Jim, hello. I was having a wonderful 70-degree gardening day and then I woke up. How the heck do I double broadcast? So I have my computer right in front of me and my phone. So if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, you should be able to see this live. I've never been live on Facebook and Instagram before, so I'm actually not totally sure I'm doing it right. I'm hoping that it's broadcasting, but I don't know. If you're watching this on Facebook or Instagram, please say something so that I know you can see. Okay. Couple more comments and then we're going to get back to our scheduled programming because I'm a professional and planned this out this time. So y'all should be proud. In Tampa, and the rain has been so sparse this summer. The rain did not start in June like normal. I will agree. The past couple weeks have been more like normal. So we are starting to get more rains. Miss Brooke, I am in Gainesville, Florida. When should I start garlic? I keep finding different information online. I also keep finding different information online, and I'm playing with that. I actually just put 4 bulbs of garlic in my freezer to cold stratify it, and then I put another 3 in my fridge because I've heard both, and I don't know. So I'm playing with it. So we'll see how that part goes. Irrigation and drought tolerant plants are a must. Yes. You can see me just fine. Thank you. Thank you all for the encouragement. I really appreciate this. Going live is an intimidating thing. The freezer would kill the garlic. Maybe, but I've also read that that's what to do. So we're going to experiment. We're going to see. All right. So back to it. We've gone over the different temperatures and we see that the heat starts to break in September. So there's 2 approaches you can take here. If you've got a good long season like I do, you can wait till September to start your seeds. If you want tomatoes as quickly as possible because an evil demon of a vole took out your entire tomato garden over the summer, you may start your seeds in August, which is what I plan to do. And so my thought is, also I should caveat this with, I start my seeds outside. I don't have space inside for seed starting, so I have a seed starting section that is outside. So you may not need to get this nuanced with your weather knowledge if you're starting seeds indoors, just full disclosure. But I start my seeds outside in a little makeshift greenhouse. And so I'm going to start mine in August because they're going to get a lot of rainwater. And they will have, if I start them August 1st, roughly 6 weeks to get going before they can start setting blooms. So they'll be focusing more on growth during that time. I will have to pay a lot of attention to them because it is still very, very hot. Full disclosure. But by the time it starts cooling down, they will already be big enough that they could really support a lot of tomato blooms. So I'm going to be starting tomatoes at the start of August. Actually, I'm going to be starting pretty well everything at the start of August. But I'm also going to start them again in September just to hedge my bets. If I have learned anything this summer, it is that you may have a beautiful tomato garden, but a rodent can take it out like that. So I will be starting them at both times. We'll see which one works best for me. It might be different for you, but you can start them as early as the month before your heat officially breaks. Now, this is when I'm starting what I call my second summer vegetables. Okay, so that is my tomatoes, my melons, my cucumbers, squash. I got an invite from somebody I don't know. Squash. Trying to think of what else. My mind has suddenly gone blank. I should have written down all these varieties. Probably long beans still have time. I usually don't have a problem with long beans. I grow Thai soldier beans here. They laugh at my heat. So they grow right through the end of October, and I usually don't have to restart those. But tomatoes, basil's a good one. All of that I will be starting in August. Again, remember, blooms don't like to set between 90 and 95. So another thing, if you are trying to nurse your plants through this really, really high heat time, sometimes that works. You'll just get really huge plants. And those can be hard to support. So I'm going to be taking out all of my dead and dying tomato plants and starting fresh. One type that I would not recommend starting, however, is peppers, or at least not starting them from seed. If you can get starts or more established plants, absolutely put those in your garden. That would be so much fun. But in terms of from seed, I wouldn't start peppers because they are very, very slow to get going. And even though we have like through basically the end of November, you might not really get much, and that can just, be kind of like a womp womp. All right. So we've gone through second summer. We've looked at those temperatures. I'm going to go back to the comments, see what questions we have. Y'all please fire away with those. Freezer will work on the garlic. It will put garlic into overwintering mode. Okay. I've heard both. We're going to try and see which one works, considering 80 degrees on Christmas Day is not unheard of where I am. So we have to overwinter our garlic in the fridge. How do tomatoes do in grow bags? Really, actually pretty well. Tomatoes can do really, really well in grow bags. My friend Brooke, she is on TikTok, Instagram. She has an incredible YouTube channel. She has grown an amazing amount of tomatoes in grow bags before. So I would recommend checking out her channel. You do need to be very, very aware of your soil moisture level if you're growing in grow bags and you're in a hot zone. Mainly because the grow bags are porous. The moisture can evaporate really easily, even out of the sides. So you have to be way more aware of your moisture, but that's really the only caveat. I am in Central Florida, so I am right on the line between zone 8B and 9A, which means I am sweaty and disgusting all year long. Just period. If y'all ever see a video where I seem particularly happy, it's because I'm not sweating that day. Let's see what else we have. What's her handle? Oh, Brooke. I'm sorry. I should have given her handle. I believe it is currently What Brooke Grows. Or What Brooke is Growing. One of the two. I should have written that down beforehand. If anybody is recognizing what I'm talking about, please put her handle in the comments. She's fantastic. She grew crazy tomatoes in Texas this year. Y'all definitely check her out if you're looking for tomatoes in grow bags. All right. Have I had success growing slicer heirloom tomatoes in the fall? Yes. Yes, I have. My best successes with slicers, I have gotten those tomatoes in November and December off of plants. And they've been like nice and big and juicy and taste like a summer tomato, which is one of my biggest reasons for, honestly, why I started gardening in the fall. Because here, between our crazy rains and our crazy heat, and all of the pest pressure, it is really difficult to get a slicer to grow properly in the summer. It just is so hard. Cherry tomatoes, those actually do really, really well. Those are probably still rocking it in your backyard right now. But slicers, just no. So this second summer where everything starts cooling down and slowing down, that's when I do my slicers. I'm planning on doing tons of Cherokee purple tomatoes this year. I think I've got some Dr. Witchy's seeds. I've got some Black Beauty seeds. I'm going to live up the slicer life this fall with tomatoes. All right, let's see what else we have. I'm rooting a whole bunch of suckers to replace my current plants. They are 6 feet tall and falling over. Yes, that is actually another fantastic thing you can do. If you want to root suckers or cuttings, you can also give yourself a huge jump start for your fall or your second summer garden. That is another great one to do. I am fighting. There we go. I did it again. Words. I am fighting blight. There's where that L is coming from. And losing that battle ferociously. So what I'm going to do is actually just pull out my plants, and trying to mend my soil and boost the nutrients in it rather than do suckers, because all the suckers that I've been watching are already showing signs of blight. So I'm not doing that, but suckers saved my tomato garden when the vole originally took everything out. So I do recommend the sucker plan. Just make sure you don't have like blight or disease on your leaves, because then you're already going to have diseased plants, and that's going to be a fight. What do I do to prevent rodents and rats? I feel like there is an increase with the heat. I don't know. I wish I knew, because then I could prevent that stupid vole and his stupid vole family from taking out my tomatoes. There are some things you can do. So what really brought them to me is the fact that I have chickens and there's chicken feed. And I was being basically a lazy chicken tender for a while and leaving my feed out there. And then the rodents found it. So put up your feed at night. Make sure what you're putting your feed into is something that they can't chew into. So don't just leave it in the bag. Put it in like a trash can or some kind of container. So that there's nothing really they can eat out there. The other thing, as gardeners, a lot of us are composting. Make sure that you are not putting animal products, like cooked food, in your compost bin. So raw vegetable scraps are fine. But like shrimp shells, I put those in my compost for a little bit. Things like that will also attract rodents. So the rodents that I attracted via chickens then found my compost and like lived it up, because I ignored the rules and put shrimp shells in there. So follow the rules of composting in that sense. Don't put like milk, cheese, meat, that type of thing in there, and that will help not attract rodents. That's really all I have for preventing rodents. I don't know how to prevent them. All right. Looks like we have some more. What Brook grows. Thank you, Ash. I have missed a whole bunch of comments. Okay. Zone 9B 10A, South Florida. Hello. Hello from Melbourne. My in-laws live in Melbourne. Or like right outside of it. Trying to germinate Everglades tomatoes and Florida Grove peppers. Very nice. My Everglades are handling this heat really, really well. All right. Hello, Panhandle friend. 8B. Where do I buy my seeds? I buy seeds from a wide variety of places. I really love My Gardener's seeds. Really love My Gardener's seeds. I had like conflicting thought patterns going. Baker Creek is a great one, particularly because of the amount of varieties they have from Southeast Asia, because that growing environment is very similar to my growing environment. Very hot, very humid. That's how I found those Thai soldier beans, and they love it here. They're like, oh, it's a swamp? Yeah, great. Let's do this. I have a great picture of me on like a 6 or 7 foot ladder, like towards the top, harvesting Thai soldier beans that ended up growing up a tree. It's one of my favorite pictures of myself. So they're great for that type of thing. Another one I really love is Haas Tools. And I don't know how accurate this is. Hi, Mary. Hello from Groveland. Welcome. I don't know how accurate this is, and there may be some people who say it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but Haas Tools is from a zone very close to mine, and I feel like I have a really good success rate with their seeds, and I suspect it might be because those plants come from parent plants that are more used to this environment. And then where else do I get seeds? I like getting local seeds. I do a lot of seed swaps. I think those are super fun. But really a lot of the standards. So like So True Seeds, Seed Savers, all of those. I'm honestly not particular. I will also buy seeds from the dollar store if the mood strikes me, which is anytime I see seeds at the dollar store. Let's see what we have. Looks like a Cherokee Purple fan. Cherokee Purple was about the only slicer that did anything in my 9A Texas garden this spring. Yeah, they are. Love Cherokee Purples. I grew up on those. They're my dad's favorite. So I have a big soft spot for Cherokee Purple. Just pulled all your tomatoes. Yep, I'm about to pull a ton of mine. How can I get squash to mature? They never get to full size before dying, even if I pollinate. That almost sounds like blossom end rot, but I don't know if squash can get that. I don't know. So again, just full disclosure, and I might lose gardener credibility here. I have really not had much luck with squash because of squash vine borers. I've gotten some when I've grown them in the fall, but they've been like this big, and I picked them really early because I got scared that something was going to come and get them. So I had little mini zucchinis. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. I don't know. It sounds like it might be a pollination issue, or it might be that you have a nutrient deficiency in your soil. So double check, see if your soil needs a little fine tuning. Okay. Joseph, I see you asking for some good fall crops, but it looks like you were going to say where you are and got cut off. Whoop. 9B, just put a new crop of cukes and squash. Squash vine borers always get your squash. Yeah, man, they are rough. I've been seeing some really cool things about growing squash basically vertically. So like using a tomato cage to hold it up and like putting some aluminum foil around the base, and that can really help with the squash vine borers. I think I'm going to try that this fall. We're going to see. My husband doesn't actually like squash though. So like I love it. I want to grow it. But I'm going to have to do like a limited space experiment with that because Sweet Hub Scout is not a squash fan. He does not like it. Early in your growing season, you are up north, but your Cherokees are doing great. I love it. I'm a little envious. I am so ready for some homegrown tomatoes. Oh, goodness. Y'all, I'm loving the comments. These are great questions. Zone 7A and starting my first garden. When should I start for fall? So, here's what I'm going to recommend to you, Nicole. 7A to me, in my brain, that means you have like a legit winter, right? You're going to freeze. You might even get snow. So you need to really know when your frost date is and count backwards from that. Give yourself roughly 120 days, or at least 100 days, and see what all you can grow in that time period. Trisha has been growing squash with the tomato cage and it works. I'm doing it. I am doing it because, as we know, tomato cages are not actually useful for tomatoes. I don't know why we call them tomato cages. Okay. So, going back to like my lesson plan, basically. We've talked about second summer vegetables. We're now going to shift slightly to talking about the cool weather vegetables because we also need to account for those. One of the tricky parts about being in a hot weather zone is that even though we have a long time, we really need to be thinking well in advance, because even though we're starting our second summer, we need to know how long those plants need, how long they are going to take, so that we can know when to start our cool weather vegetables. Now, what I'm calling cool weather vegetables, most parts of the country will consider spring veggies, just straight up. I grow those in the winter. So I'm talking like carrots, cabbages, radishes, beets, all of the fun root, leafy, brassica family, all of that stuff. I grow those over the course of the winter. Now I need to sit down and like plan things out, but I probably will be starting a lot of those seeds at the 1st of October. The only thing I'm going to jump the gun with, and it's because it's my favorite thing to grow and I love this so much, is lettuce. I love a good salad. I love growing lettuce. It is like my ego boost plant or vegetable. And so I'm going to be starting lettuce probably like mid-September, towards the end of September, just because I miss having lettuce. Okay, so that's some of the cool weather. Let's see what we have. I cannot get radishes to grow anything but leaves. Any advice? You might have too much nitrogen in your soil, which sounds kind of like miracle soil, but when you have root vegetables, if there's an overabundance of nitrogen in the soil, they will focus on the greens and put out tons and tons and tons of greens, but they won't focus as much on the root. So I would recommend planting like leafy green things around your radishes to help soak up some of that nitrogen, and maybe that will help. So maybe like interplant your radishes with some lettuce or some kale or things like that. Do I just start lettuce in the shade? Yeah. So I will choose mid to end September, my shadiest bed, put lettuce in it, and that's what I'm going to do. I've been watching Vanessa over at From the Garden, and she has converted me to the Shade Cloth Club. So I'm also probably going to be ordering some shade cloth in the next week or so and give myself some artificial shade and then plant lettuce everywhere. Adding bone meal to counter the nitrogen. Thank you. I knew there was one. But yeah, if you're trying to grow a root vegetable like a radish, a turnip, a beet, anything like that, and you're getting lots of beautiful greens, but no root, too much nitrogen. Yes. Okay. Looks like we're caught up on TikTok. And looks like we are caught up still on Facebook and Instagram. Remember, y'all, I'm going to be making videos about how to time your fall garden all next week. I'm going to base a lot of it off of your questions to make sure that it's useful to you. So fire away while we're chatting. I will probably use your question later. All right. Now, there are some... living in Fort White. Fort White is Texas? Yes? Is that correct? Or is that Florida? I'm also a Florida transplant. I am not a Florida native. Just full disclosure. Native Floridians look down on me sometimes because I'm not a native. How do you start gardening in an apartment vertically? So there are awesome planters. There is a Fort White in Florida. I thought that as soon as I said Fort White, Texas, and I was like, meh, but that's actually Florida. So if you're in an apartment and you have like some sunny space or a balcony, get a vertical stacked planter. There are all sorts of them. Greenstock is a very well-known, well-loved one. It can be a little pricey. There are knockoff versions. I don't know how well they like hold up compared to Greenstock. I don't have any, but I have friends who do. They are beautiful. They work really well. You can grow just about anything in them. That's how I would start gardening if you're in an apartment or in like a really small space. Is it okay to plant fruit trees in 9B now, or should I wait closer to fall? I would wait. I would wait if you're wanting to do fruit trees for two reasons. One, it's crazy hot and everything wants to die. So just hedge your bets. Wait a little bit before planting a fruit tree if you're in Central Florida or just a hot weather zone. But also in the fall, the trees become more dormant, right? So they're already not focusing on putting energy into leaves, they're putting it into roots. So you are going to have a better established tree if you plant it in the fall or close to the fall than you would if you started it in the summer, because then it's also got to recover. So I just recommend waiting a little bit longer. Again, wait till that heat breaks. If you are near me, right? I'm like on the line between North and Central Florida, on the line between 8B and 9A. My heat breaks in September. I go from a 3-month average high of over 90 to an average high in the 80s. Still very hot, but the heat has broken. Wait till your heat breaks if you're really, chomping at the bit to get some stuff going. At least let that really rough time pass. Steph says Dollar Tree towers have lasted for 3 years. I mean, I think that's a great deal. So go for those. Okay, cool. So as fall progresses, there are some things to keep in mind, right? So we've talked about temperature, we've talked about rainfall, we've talked about waiting for the heat to break. What we haven't talked about is the sun. Now, again, where I am in Central Florida, we're never really lacking sun. We get tons of it all year long. But you do want to remember that as we get closer into fall and into the winter in Florida, we have less and less sun, which means it is going to slow down growth. So we've been talking about planting in terms of plants that need anywhere from 100 to 120 days. If it is something that needs 120 days in like prime conditions somewhere else, it might actually need longer because we've got less sun. Not because the temperature is too much or anything like that, but there's fewer sunny hours, which means a little bit less growth. So also anticipate that your fall vegetables may not be on the normal schedule. If you're used to growing tomatoes and getting tomatoes within 70 to 80 days, but this time it takes 100, it's just because the change in sun patterns. It's not going to affect us a huge amount down here, but it is something to keep in mind if you're watching your plants super closely and you're just like, why am I not getting anything yet? What is going on? It's because we have shorter light hours. Whole reason. Let's see here. I want to start a small herb garden on my porch, but I am not the greatest at tending them. Okay. This is why I love lettuce. All right. So roll with me on this. This is my hack. Start an herb and lettuce garden. All right. It'll grow very similar. It can grow in a really small space. The lettuce can. And you can use it, I think you can use it a lot more easily if you're trying to get used to starting to using and eating things that you grow. So, I mean, obviously you can make a salad, you can throw it on a sandwich, you can include it in your work lunch like that. It's super quick. And so since you'll be out there harvesting it more, it'll help you keep a closer eye on your herb garden and help you remember to water it, help you remember to use those herbs. Use lettuce. That it's one of the best reminders that you'll have. Also, fair warning, once you start growing your own lettuce, buying lettuce from the store becomes a very depressing experience. Because it's gross. It's like, I mean, I still do it when I don't have lettuce because I love a salad, but the fact that those bagged lettuces will go bad within a matter of days is very disheartening to me. So, but yeah, if you're wanting to start an herb garden, but you tend to forget these kinds of things, add lettuce. Hey there, Beehive. You are near Daytona. Didn't hear when I start to sow seeds. Let me backtrack for you. So my heat, and probably your heat, starts to break in September. Now, you have two options. You can start your seeds in September because the heat has broken and it'll be a little easier on the seedlings. Or you can start them in August if you're willing to be very attentive to the seedlings, and then have that prime heat breaking time to really encourage the growth, and you don't have to worry about them being at that maturity stage where they're producing blooms and the blooms just falling off, and that's kind of a waste of energy. Or will falling off if you'd started them too soon. So I recommend starting seeds for your second summer garden either in August if you're willing to be very attentive to your seedlings, or early September because the heat is breaking at that point. The other option is take your time waiting till the heat is fully broken and use starts. Do I grow zucchini in the fall? Yes, I have grown zucchini in the fall. I didn't last year because I was mad at my zucchini plants. So I didn't start any more seeds. I'd had enough. This year I'm planning on doing zucchini. I'm actually about to start some more Seminole pumpkins in August. And I'm thinking about starting like regular pumpkins. I've never tried to do those before, but I don't know, the idea of making my own pumpkin pie from a pumpkin I grew sounds like fun. So I might start one of those. We'll see. But yes, zucchini in the fall is where I have had my mitigated success with zucchini. All right, what kind of lettuce do I recommend? I really like my favorite blend so far has been the Red Wing lettuce mix from Baker Creek. And they are all kind of the softer lettuces. And they all look very different. So there's like green and frilly and like a purpley red and frilly. And then there's a green with red splotches all over it. My friend Danny, her handle is Better in Suburbia over on Instagram, one time called it Dexter lettuce, and I've never forgotten that, and it tickles me. But that's my favorite mix. I also really love to grow arugula. I love how arugula tastes, so I grow that one. I don't try to grow romaine or like the super crunchy ones. Those take a whole lot of water, and up until now I haven't had irrigation. So I just don't bother with those. So I do like the types of lettuces that you would see in a spring mix is typically what I grow for myself. You hope I do more lives. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to get much more regular about my lives. I also just realized I've been talking for forever and haven't had any water. I wanted to start in August, just afraid of the bugs. Yeah. What I would recommend if you're worried about bugs is maybe getting some of the fabric that can go over like a small hoop. That'll help keep the bugs off your seedlings if you're starting your seeds outside, or like putting seedlings outside early. But yeah, bugs are a pain in the butt. What do I use for pests? It depends on the pest. Which one are you asking about? My chickens and dogs love pumpkin, and I think I want to grow them too. So, funny story about my bougie chickens. I hope y'all are ready for a chicken story. I'm very proud of myself that I am 50 minutes into this live, and this is the first time I'm telling a chicken story. So, let's talk about that personal progress. But last year, people were talking about, giving your chickens pumpkins. The seeds are really great dewormers. It's really great for them. So I went to the grocery store and bought this little organic pumpkin. It wasn't very big. It was like this big, and gave it to my chickens and just like set it out there thinking they'd peck at it and play with it. Didn't touch it. So then I cut the pumpkin and I was like, all right, once they smell it, they'll play with it. Still didn't touch it. Squirrels didn't touch it. Nothing touched it. I don't know what was wrong with this pumpkin. Nothing would eat it. Other birds didn't come and get it. No rodents, squirrels, nothing touched it. It rotted in the yard. Nothing ate the seeds. Seeds haven't grown. So I don't know. It's a combination of my bougie chickens were too good for this pumpkin, but also I think there was a problem with the pumpkin because nothing ate it. That's my pumpkin story. Let's see. When do I plant squash for fall harvest? I wait till the heat breaks. And then I also will succession sow, just because even once the heat has broken here, I'm always going to have vine borer pressure. It just lessens a little bit. So right now is like prime time for pest pressure. September, October, November, it will lessen. So I will start squash seeds in August, September, and October. Basically, leading up to all of that. October might be a little late to start squash seeds. I'll probably try anyway, because why not? But August and September, definitely. Oh man, I'm so far behind in these comments. Where am I? And it just jumped. I'm sorry if I'm missing things, y'all. I try not to use any pesticides, but have had success with spinosad? Spinosad? I don't know how to pronounce that word. I'll have to look at what that is. What is a good use for romaine lettuce? Caesar salad. I love Caesar salads. So good. Any tips for corn? No. No. You need a lot of it to pollinate. So you need to succession plant. It needs a lot of nutrients. It is a heavy, heavy feeder. So you need really good soil. Needs a good amount of water. Again, heavy feeder, heavy drinker. Corn is just hands-on. It does a lot. And the corn I planted in the spring gave me a little bit of baby grenades. It was it was a little disheartening how bad my corn did. So corn is a mess. And then you have a ton of pest pressure with corn as well. So squirrels, raccoons, armyworms, all of them love it. I know a lot of people grow really beautiful, decorative corn. But you do have to be very hands-on. So I guess that's my main tip for corn. Be ready to be hands-on with it. I've got a tomato plant that just isn't well. Would you recommend just removing it and planting new? Yeah. At this point of the year, assuming you are in a hot zone like me, especially, just pull that baby out. Get rid of it. It either A, doesn't like the environment right now, which I don't like the environment right now, so I don't blame it. Or B, it could be sick and you don't want to risk spreading that sickness and contamination to the rest of your garden. So just chuck him. My grandmother gave me a pumpkin. I don't know what kind, and they went nuts. I love it when things like that happen. I love it when somebody's like, here's this plant that I think is this thing. I don't really know more than that. Here you go. And it does great. Those are always the ones that do great. I love them. They make me so happy. The bacteria ate the pumpkin. That's rotting. Fair enough. Yeah. Brooke's handle again was what Brooke grows, all one word. She is on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for sure. I'm sure she's probably on Facebook, but I don't know. She's amazing. All right, how are we doing on time? We got a few minutes left. So let's talk about what all is coming up next. We talked a lot about timing. Excuse me. We talked a lot about timing. So other things that we're going to be talking about in preparing for and planning the fall garden are amending the soil. So basically, we're super tired at the end of the summer. The soil has been trying to grow things all summer. It is also super tired. So we're going to amend our soil. I'll be talking about that. I'm going to be talking actually about irrigation and watering, and how to set all of that up. However, full disclosure, am not going to be talking about it as an expert. I'm going to be talking about it as I am trying to set up irrigation in my garden for the very first time. Again, Vanessa, over at From the Garden, set up irrigation. Her garden did beautifully. She was able to just let it do its thing while she was dealing with some health stuff. And I'm sold. I'm going to get some irrigation going, especially because once fall and winter actually hit here, my rain decreases drastically. So irrigation is something we're going to work on. And then we're going to do the most fun part. Actually, probably before we do both of those, we're going to actually plan our second summer in cool weather gardens. I do recommend making an actual plan for these just because the timing needs to be just so. But when you plan your garden, then you get to know what seeds you want to buy. And I love buying seeds. That's my other favorite hobby. So some fun stuff coming up. All of it we're going to do this month so that we're ready for the start of August and to get it going. It should be a lot of fun. I'm this is my favorite, I don't even know what to call it, part of the summer season, I guess, where I have gotten over the grief of my summer garden dying, and now I'm fall's almost here. Let's stay in the air conditioning and plan for fall. So that's what we're going to be doing the rest of this month with the garden. A lot of planning, a lot of prep. But I love it. It's a very hopeful time to me. I don't know if y'all get that same kind of feeling. I get really excited about it. It's a lot of potential. And then because the heat has lessened, the pest pressure has lessened, this is where you can really see your skills as a gardener. If you're living in a hot weather zone, this is where I remind myself oh, I am actually very good at this. I do actually know some of what I'm doing. I grew a massive cabbage. I've grown cabbages for a couple years. They've been, this-ish big. So decent size. I grew a massive cabbage this year. I made roughly a full gallon off of one cabbage of sauerkraut. I still have jars of sauerkraut in my fridge from this one cabbage. I grow massive turnips, tons of turnip greens, tons of lettuce. My beets didn't do this well this year because I kind of forgot to water them. Well, that was on me. But overall, fall, it's so much easier. This is where you can really remind yourself why you love gardening, just how nice it is to be in the garden. And I don't know, it's a really nice boost after what can be a really difficult time trying to grow things in the heat. So if you're on the fence about doing it, I do really recommend at least throwing out some lettuce seeds. Get all of that going. It's the best. It really is the best. It was really easy. You got it. I'm assuming that's in reference to the irrigation. I don't know why I find the irrigation so intimidating, but it really does intimidate the pants off of me. So y'all are I'm just gonna do it. Y'all are gonna watch me. I will be very honest about it. But man, the irrigation, for some reason, I've got a mental block with. I want to plant everything and I don't have a lot of space. I feel you, Regina. I feel you. Fully feel you. I actually don't know any gardener who feels like they have enough space, but what I would recommend doing is focusing on something that is not going to be like a one-time vegetable. So if you don't have a lot of space, the first things that I would throw out are things like cabbages and broccoli and cauliflower, because they take up like a huge amount of space, but you only get one thing off of them. So I wouldn't worry about those. I would do anything that is either like a fruiting vegetable or a cut and come again, where you can like harvest a little bit and then leave it and then it'll grow more. Kales, lettuces, that type of thing. That's my general recommendation for very small space gardening. Do I have any tips for growing lettuce in Central Florida? Yes, that is a fall and winter vegetable for us, not summer. It just gets too hot. We have way too much sun. They bolt. They don't like it. Fall and winter. Plus, when it's cooler, they taste a little better. So that's my biggest recommendation for there. Do I only grow vegetables or also flowers? Looking for good flowers for Central Florida. I am not the best about flowers. I'm good with them, but I have a tendency of, if I can't eat it, I'm not super interested in growing it. Just full disclosure. I have a big soft spot for zinnias. I love them. I love how brightly colored they are. They're kind of the gateway drug for flowers, and they will like bring in all of the pollinators. My other favorite flower, and this again is because I can eat it, so it both brings beauty and pollinators, and I can eat it, is the perfect trifecta. I love nasturtium. I am constantly reseeding nasturtium, letting it go to seed and reseed itself. I want it growing everywhere. Hummingbirds love it. They love nasturtium. Right now, they typically give up on life at this time of year. But again, August 1st, I'm starting a whole slew of nasturtium seeds, and I will use it as filler in my garden beds. You can use it as a trap plant. The aphids will go to that instead of your plants sometimes. It attracts pollinators, so everything gets pollinated. Plus, you can eat it. I really like the greens. They are in like these little discs. And I use them on fish tacos. It makes it like kind of peppery and spicy. Everybody loves eating the flowers. So nasturtium are my favorite. I love nasturtium. They are my favorite. Can I do broccoli or Brussels sprouts in 5-gallon buckets? I believe so, yes. I have not tried it myself, but I don't see why that wouldn't work. What do I do to the soil prior to planting? I mix in compost. I mix in organic fertilizers. I give it a heavy weed. If I have time and haven't been slacking, I will lay like some tarps over the soil for like a week while it's still super high heat to kind of solarize it and try and kill any of the pests in it. Yeah, so we'll be going over all of that in more detail, but the basic gist is I just try and freshen it up as much as possible. Steph, you're saying something helps with root knot nematodes, and I'm not sure which thing you're referencing. Is it the nasturtium? Is that another miracle of nasturtium that they help with root knot nematodes? All right, y'all. So it is a little bit after 2. Yes, it is nasturtium that helps with nematodes. Okay, I thought so. I wasn't sure. It is a little bit after 2. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me over the past hour. I am neglecting my husband while he does the heavy lifting type yard work, and I feel a little guilty about it, but This was awesome. We will be having another one very, very soon. I will let y'all know when that is. And we will probably be focusing on how to amend soil and like actually get your beds ready for the fall. But this has been amazing. And I will talk to all of you very soon. I don't know how to cleanly end both lives, so thanks. I'm not doing either.